Joe! Joe の野郎。鬼姫が完全にぶっ潰しやがって。
Oh my god. Hello everyone, welcome to Joe Consumes Cinema. I'm your host, Showdown with the Wolf, and today we have Ashita no Joe, episode 36. So loved last episode. It really showcased, the relationship that Joe and Nishi have, and the fact that Joe really does rely on Nishi, and, seeing his friend going down like that, and the fact that this was going to be the end of his boxing career, and then him getting back up and winning like that. And it's just an excellent showcase of how important their relationship is and just how much Joe relies on Nishi. More so than you would think, because, the assumption going in is that Nishi relies mostly on Joe. And it's simply not the case. I thought it was brilliant how they showcased, that motivation that Joe has, that, seeing his friend go down like that is what brought tears to his eyes. And then that is all that Nishi needed to get back to his feet and just clobber that guy with one punch. It was really inspiring stuff, honestly. Like, different things motivate fighters. Some guys want to show off in front of their girl. Some people, have kids that they're looking out for, want to make sure, their success leads to financial success for them. And for Nishi, he just doesn't want to let down his friend. So that's really wholesome, and it was a great moment. Really good episode. And I think at this point, we're getting close to the final showdown with Wolf at some point. Either this episode or next. I think it's going to be this one. But yeah, that should be really good. It's a huge step up for Joe, but I think he's ready. I really would like to see him stop relying so much on the right cross counter, but we'll cross that bridge again when we get to it. I just am concerned for, Joe's longevity. Relying on a technique that, you only can really use if you take a lot of damage in the process is not... It's not good for the long term. So, but yeah, I'm really eager to get to this one. But before we begin, as always, remember to blank, blank, and blank. Still very much a small channel, so every like, comment, share, subscribe that we can get really helps out. Really appreciate it. Patreon link down below. I'm really trying to push the Patreon this year, so if you could sign up, even just as a free member, you'd be doing me a ton of good with that. Let's get right to it. Joe the Brawler. The mighty cross counter. He keeps using it. Couldn't even stand after 2 rounds. Pretty sure that's Wolf. He's terrified of the cross counter, having nightmares about it. Wolf Kanagushi Bears His Fangs. I think we're in the winter finally. I can see his breath.
ウルフ、何をそんなに怯えているんだ。
会長、俺はどうしてもダメなんです。あのアリ地獄みたいなクロスカウンターが頭から離れねえんだよ。
矢吹のクロスはもうおしめえだ。見つけたんだよ。奴を完膚なきまでに叩き潰す戦法を。
I'm gonna guess, go for the body with a right hook. You feint like you're gonna throw like a lead left to set up his cross counter, and then you crash one home with the right hand.
理論だけはなんとかわかりますが。
理論さえ飲み込めばお前ほどのテクニシャンだ。体で覚えるのはわけはない。
This is the problem with relying on the same technique over and over again. Your opponents will plan for it, and same trick won't work every single time.
会長やりますよ。俺やりますよ。
いつまでそんな雑魚ばかりの相手をさせるんだよ。
Yeah.
雑魚たなんだ雑魚た。ウルフは6回戦じゃねえってのかよ、おっさん。
He doesn't think you're ready.
いい試合をやってしかもいい成績さえ続けてればそのうちにやらせてやるよ。いい成績だ。冗談言うね。それほどのやつじゃないよ。あ。
Is he hiding something? Did he call him out in the paper?
矢吹のクロス。なんだと！矢吹のクロスカウンター恐るるに足らず。なるほど。おめえの人気を妬んで焦ってる証拠よ。 ほっときゃ向こうもたまりかねて正式に申し込んでくるわ。
Is it that quick?
これはウルフの試合の招待状だ。なんだって？野郎キザな真似しやがって。
It takes confidence. I think he's gonna knock out whoever his opponent is and then call out Joe right here in the ring. So far, so good. Yeah.
いやー、丹下会長、それに矢吹城君、よくおいでくださった。
なんで大げさに新聞記者かなんかを引き連れて。
ところで、丹下会長、ズバリウルフ矢吹戦というのはどうかな？君ももう世間が納得する実績は積んでおるし、機は熟したりだ。
木も何も俺はいつだってお前。
ジョー、その試合に勝った方が晴れて8回戦に進出するというのはどうかね。明暗じゃろう。
やれやれ矢吹。受けろよ矢吹。絶対に受けろよ。おっちゃんよう、まさか断るつもりじゃねえだろうな。
He's worried. He knows this is a trap.
この喧嘩勝った。確かに勝った。この矢吹城が確かに勝ったぜ。勝ったったら勝ったんだい。みんなよく聞け。
Well, Joe's big mouth gets him in trouble again. I think Dangpei really wanted to refuse it, but Joe's ego is, his own worst enemy.
なんとでも熱を吹くがいいさ。何？あんまり図に乗っていると今に停滞しっぺ返しに遭うぞ。俺が少しはマシな野郎と試合ができるっていう晴れの門出じゃねえかよ。
He's spooked.
いよいよ矢吹君がプロボクサーとしての進化を問われる試合になるじゃろう。
矢吹よ、気をつけな。ウルフが自信を持っておめえに挑戦したということは、俺はおめえが負けるとは思ってはいないが、ウルフの牙で傷ついて俺の前立つことができねえなんてことにはならねえでくれよな。ウルフの次は俺だぜ、ジョー。この力士徹だぜ。
3週間後の土曜日、ウルフ矢吹戦が行われることになった。矢吹とウルフ、いやこのアジア圏との因縁はみんな知っているな。はい、アジア圏に所属する者すべて今度のウルフの試合が終わるまで全員協力してもらいたい。
Literally going into lockdown here. He's got 3 weeks to do a lot of hard sparring. Tired Jim is focused on getting him ready and no one else.
アジア圏ね、取材させてくれないんだ。なんでも気取っちゃって秘密練習だとよ。
Dangpei is fucking terrified.
ところで矢吹君、なんだ、ウルフがね。
待ってくれ。その頼むから練習の邪魔をせんでくれんか。インタビューならわしが代わりに答えよ。3度倒されりゃ5度ぶっ倒す。そして最後に立っている男はおそらく矢吹城だってな。
ほ
う。うるさい。お前は黙って練習しろ。分かったよ。おっつぁん、なんだってそうイライラしてるんだよ。あんなウルフの野郎はこの俺のクロスカウンターがコッパみじんにぶち砕いてやるからよ。
No, it won't.
クロスカウンター。ジョー、おめえ夕べのウルフの目を覚えているかい？ウルフの目？負け犬そのものの怯えきった目をしていた。だが夕べは親しの前に現れた時のウルフの目は、あの青白く燃えていたウルフの目は、あれは一体どういうわけだ？
ウルフの秘密練習はおそらく矢吹のクロスカウンターを破る新戦法だろうってよ。
クロスカウンター破り？
あ
どうやってクロスを破るんだよ。
クロスカウンター破り。
明日を目指して立ち上がる。立つんだよ。Okay, took some time just to gather my thoughts. Episode 36, damn good one. So the focus this episode is all on, the potential match between Joe and Wolf. Starts off with, we're seeing from Wolf's perspective, and he's absolutely terrified seeing Joe knock out opponent after opponent. I think he's like 7 or 8 fights deep now, where we saw just that montage at the start of the episode of Joe knocking people out with the right cross counter. And yeah, he's probably like 7-0 or 8-0 at this point, and he keeps relying on that same weapon over and over again. And again, like I talked about it before, he's taking damage every time he uses it, and also he's becoming a bit predictable. Over-reliance on one weapon will get you in trouble in the long run. But Wolf is initially very terrified of it, and then his coach comes in and explains that there's a way to counter it. And we're going to be doing some training to, get you prepared for it. And that, instills his fighter with a lot of confidence, and all of a sudden he starts training like a madman. His confidence is there. He's putting in the work, and, there's this simplistic technique that I think either involves, potentially ducking under the right cross counter and then attacking the body, which is wide open. Or you could even do something where you, like, bend your elbow and, like, block it up, like, use your arm as, like, a shield and kind of deflect the cross and then, land something to the body or the head. And yeah, it's entirely possible to stop that technique. Every technique has a counter, so yeah, it's a big problem just relying on one thing over and over again. Eventually you'll encounter an opponent who knows how to, deal with it, and then you're screwed. I thought it was pretty cool how the Asia Gym, sent tickets to Joe and Dangpei to invite them to his match. He won it easily, by knockout. I think it was first round victory. And then perfect opportunity for the two of them to call out Joe. And Dangpei is just staring into Wolf's eyes, and he realizes that this guy is, legit, fully committed, and kind of like an Eye of the Tiger moment, but not really. In Hajime no Ippo, it's the green eyes. Here it was blue eyes of flame, but same basic concept. A fighter who is intensely driven on, getting better and is a real threat, has become like a beast or like an animal. Yeah, it's that whole line of thinking, and there is a lot of truth in it. And Dangpei sees it, and he's fucking, afraid for Joe. Joe not thinking, like I've said it before, but Joe's ego is his own worst enemy. He just, immediately accepts the challenge. And Asia Gym is ecstatic because they know now they've got him. He can't back out now. He's fully committed to the fight. And so they go about the business of literally, locking down their training center and just focusing entirely on preparing Wolf to defeat that counter and destroy Joe. The fight is now 3 weeks away, and I'm guessing starting next episode, we're going to get the beginning of the fight. I think this may be the first match where we're going to get multiple episodes dedicated to it, because it's a really, really big match. Even Rikishi was talking about it, saying, if you can get past him, I'm next. So he's really motivated. He wants Joe to win, and he also thinks Joe will win. But he is concerned they wouldn't just have called Joe out for no reason if they thought they were, going to get smashed with that right cross counter. He knows they have to have something up their sleeve. And now that Joe and Dangpei are onto the fact that, his plan is to counter the right cross, they can sort of come up with something. I think the best bet is to just not use it, honestly. Just stop relying on it. You have to do that anyway because you were taking way too much damage in all your fights using that thing over and over again. And just fight a normal match, You really don't need that technique. It's kind of just like something that you have in the bag as an emergency, but relying on it is, the way Joe does is just really, really stupid long term. But yeah, this episode was really good, and honestly, I just look forward to the next one. I'm going to get to that right now. So as always, thanks for watching, and peace.